Hello and welcome to TelecomTV. My name is Martin Warwick and we're reporting in from the Georgian city of Bath in Somerset, where we are at the inauguration of Intel's Mobile Edge Computing and Innovation Centre here in the city. And I'm talking with Andy Odgers, who's the CEO of Quartus. Andy, welcome. Thanks for talking to us.
Hi, Martin.
Right, to start with, tell us about Quartus. What do you do?
Well, Quartus is, we're a small company, but we're into software. Now, it's very specific telecoms, base station related software. And what we do is basically virtualize small core networks. That's GSM, 3G and 4G. And the view on that is, it's not really necessarily scaling it to be very, very large. Our differentiation is that we scale down as well. And that is arguably why we're here, because we can scale down to run at the edge of networks and provide services directly to the users where they are.
We have cloud computing.
Yes.
We have seen the emergence of SD and NFV very strongly over the past 18 months or so, and now a new one bursting on the scene is MEC, Mobile Edge Computing. It's not necessarily a new technology in and of itself, but it's complementary to everything that's happening. Why is it so important right now? Is the core network so overburdened that something has to give?
Well, I think it's quite important to appreciate that ETSI have decided to create a whole new group. I mean, yes, you're right, it is aligned to NFV, but they chose this new group because the MEC concept is sufficiently different to NFV to create a new group in the first place. I think that's quite important to realise. So the reasons for it, I think, is the drivers, is because there are many aspects why, for example, just the internet has grown the way it has. It's not one huge monolithic box somewhere. This is talking about the internet here. It has actually devolved, and there's intelligence at the edge, be it mail servers or PCs, and that's how it's scaled. It's scaled incredibly well and very, very quickly. Now, telecoms traditionally has been rather big box central, and I think MEC, or the vision behind MEC, is to take it into a more IT orientated, more internet. It's more pushing things towards the edge and leverage, low power processing power, deliver services exactly where they are consumed. It takes advantage of shorter backhaul delays and really create communities of interest, if you like, where those people are, instead of long lining things back to a central core. Now, that's not to say that cloud computing is had its day by any means, but I think there's space for both. And as Intel and Nokia have quite nicely described it, it's moving the cloud towards the RAN. And I think that's a good way of putting it. It's not anti-cloud at all, by any means. It's using the virtualization concept to bring the cloud closer to the user. I think that's very important.
A couple of things that have happened recently is that, to begin with, service providers and operators have taken charge more than they have in the past. They've been insisting to the product suppliers, to the manufacturers and the vendors, that they're not going to be locked in anymore. And so we've seen a lot of driving of NFV in particular from the service provider end. Is this also true of MEC?
It does apply to MEC because, as we've heard today, Nokia and Intel are driving it, but they are opening up the work they've already done, especially Nokia, I have to say. So what MEC brings is, if you like, the creation of an ecosystem, not unlike app stores or other things you may download and you use, ironically, on your end terminal, your laptop, your PC. And that does create this third-party ecosystem, and that is opening up the edge, and indeed telecoms, to third-party developers. Again, as we've seen in other parts of the internet. So are operators losing control? In terms of functionality, yes, because other people are arguably better at it. They can invent new applications, as we have seen. In terms of security and billing, no, and I think that's very important as well. So you have flexibility and innovation services, but operators, they do have obligations. They do have to themselves as well as to regulator. So security, partitioning, firewalling are all very, very important parts of this new framework. And then on top of that, yes, third parties are allowed to innovate. And it's quite exciting. We've seen so many applications over the last few years, and some of the things that people think of are quite extraordinary. So we look forward to that, but it's not at the risk of the operator's own networks failing in some manner.
You mentioned the word ecosystem, Andy, which of course is one of the buzzwords of our times. Where do you fit into that ecosystem? What sort of a part do you play in it? And what's it like being in what is basically a new ecosystem that's taking shape?
This is a new ecosystem. Yes, you're right. I mean, as we heard today, nothing like this has happened before, opening up radios. That's quite unusual. Having said that, Quartus has been doing this for 2-3 years in some niche areas or on some specific radios, I admit. But that is why we're here. We want to, again, standardise as well. So in terms of where Quartus fits, well, we are partly the platform play and partly an application. So again, in the architectures we've been hearing about today, there's the application bit and then there's the enabling functions. And because of the work we've done before in offload of data and voice, we kind of sit either side. Now it's actually quite a powerful position because we can drive, hopefully, through our membership of the ETSI MEC group now, drive some of the functionality that's available in the framework, and then also implement some high-level applications as well. So we'll be supplier and consumer either side of this ecosystem. Now I think that's good for us. It hopefully gives credit to the message that we ourselves were flying 2 or 3 years ago, and there are deployments out there. But it's exciting now to see this being standardised, and we're all for it, and we will very happily work with Intel and Nokia and the other 20 participants.
And presumably more in due course.
I hope so, yes. I'm sure we're one of the 20 in there, but yes, I'm sure it'll be very popular.
Things are gathering momentum, so presumably there will be more members in due course, Andy. But a final question to you is this. Where do you think things are going to be as far as MEC is concerned in about a year's time? We can't look much further ahead than that because things change.
Well, as you know, the telecoms industry it does move quite slowly, and the mandate for the group currently runs at 18 to 24 months. So in a year's time, a lot of work has been done, by the way, and I expect to see quite a lot of demonstrations, proof of concepts. This is the way that often these technologies work. Hopefully we'll see some early trials, not of a final product, but of proof of concepts in operators. Again, it's good publicity. And that's what I see in a year's time. In terms of membership, maybe 40 or 50. That'd be a very active group, by the way, and then that's exciting for those people to bring what they bring to the groups. And hopefully we'll find more radio vendors, not just application developers, and more operators involved. So you do need all levels of the ecosystem to be involved, really, to make the whole thing successful. So I hope to see more vendors and operators involved.
I'm sure we will. And Andy Hodges, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.